Welcome to The Gut Check, Nutrition and Gut Health for Active People, a podcast where we are talking functional nutrition for functional fitness and a functional you. Remember, if your gut is not functioning optimally, you are not functioning optimally. I am your host, registered dietitian and nutritionist, and OCR fan, Kate Klein. You can connect with me on Facebook at The Dublin Dietitian, or go to my website for additional resources, services, and the video recorded versions of these episodes at www.dublindietitian.com. That's DUBLINDIETITIAN. As a standard disclaimer, the information provided here is for educational purposes only. While I strive to provide accurate and helpful information to my listeners and viewers, I cannot take into account individualized circumstances. This is not a substitute for personalized nutrition, health, and medical advice from a health professional. If you are ready to get your personalized plan, you can go to dublindietitian.com and schedule a complimentary strategy session to get a game plan in place for you to hit your health and fitness goals. So let's get to it. Supplements today. As you've seen, this topic is kind of coming up and people are having questions. And there's definitely a lot of controversy, conflict, and confusion in supplements. Yes. So I figured we could tackle some of that. I know I've got my line, and I guess I will kind of spoiler alert say, yes, I do recommend supplements. I know for a long time, dietitians were kind of the food first, and if you should be able to get everything through food. And I was of that mindset because that was my training. That was my conventional dietetic training until I learned more. And then we learned some supplements are okay. And it was when I was going through the advanced training in integrative and functional medical nutrition therapy, and we did weeks just on supplements. I walked away from it going, I never, ever should have told anybody what to do about supplements because it is so complex. It's so therapeutic, but so risky to do wrong. That I was kind of blown away that they, in school, that they told us, it's fine, just give them a Centrum. It's fine, give them a calcium. I was like, no, I should never have been taught that.
Oh, no.
So what is your background, Andee?
Oh, Kate, my background is very, very similar to yours in that realm, but slightly different. So year of nutrition classes as part of my sports med background, and it was like, oh, everything that you need you can get through food. As long as you're eating all of your food, you can get all of your nutrients.
I have a list that we'll get to. 15 reasons why I don't think that's true.
Well, not to mention the fact that, you know how frickin' much food do you have to eat to be able to actually do that?
Well, I think the other thing that really drove that home was when I was working as director of food and nutrition services for Saipan's hospital, and I had to redo the menus. They had no menu plans by the time I got there, and trying to just meet the RDA, which is just the bare minimum for a healthy person to not get sick. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I have friends that are RDs in hospitals, and they're like, I can barely get, it's almost impossible to meet someone's actual nutrient needs through food, for one. So there's that. So let's just park that topic.
We'll park that. We'll get to that 15 reasons.
So we'll go back to my background. We'll go back to my background.
So what is your experience been?
So professionally, I had the opportunity to work as a strength and conditioning coach for a very, very, very elite strength coach, Mike Boyle, who trained Olympic athletes as well as professional athletes. So I worked with the Bruins, literally almost all of them that year. I worked with a number of professional baseball players. I worked with the women's U.S. Olympic hockey team. I worked with we're talking high level performing athletes here. So this wasn't just local yokel strength coach. Mike Boyle's a known guy. And Mike was like, oh yeah, everything you learned in your nutrition classes when it comes to exactly, you are absolutely right. He was like, y'all don't know anything. let me teach you real nutrition, real functional nutrition when it comes to performance, when it comes to athletes, and when it comes to people, and when it comes to people who may have lacking issues, whatever those might be. So Mike blew my mind. And I learned so much from working with him that it really, it was such a valuable experience, that it was one of the things that really kicked off my interest from a research perspective when I was working on my PhD in the necessity for nutrients as they relate to gene regulation in terms of disease states. You can turn genes on and turn genes off with nutrients
and lifestyle.
And lifestyle, but nutrients are a big one. And the fact that there is just such a negative perception of supplements. And everyone's like, oh, I can just, get my multivitamin off of the shelf at the grocery store and that's fine. And I'm like, oh my God, you're getting fillers, you're getting not quality stuff. And not to mention the fact that, let's talk chemistry and biochemistry here. Functional groups and isomers, and whether it's on the left or the right or the top or the bottom, all of these things.
Chirality.
All of this stuff matters. So guess what? They sometimes throw in the cheap and easy one versus the more expensive one.
Yeah. I know one of my colleagues, what he would tell his patients and clients is, at best, an over-the-counter brand is worthless, and at worst, it's dangerous.
It's detrimental. Yeah, exactly.
So
and
he
at
would
worst,
have
it's
them.
dangerous.
He's like, don't even finish it. I don't even want you to finish the bottle because I don't want waste. Throw it away. It's worthless. And that was a powerful statement. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, that's and I completely agree. And I think the other challenge is that physicians in the traditional conventional medical space are not, first of all, they don't get nutrition training,
or very
or if they do, it's, paper thin. Can you see the gap between my fingers? that's about how much they get. In most cases.
Which to me, normally I would say, that's fine. That's not their wheelhouse, and that's where they should be partnering. They can't know everything.
And so I completely agree.
Them to acknowledge that they don't know everything.
Right, but that's the challenge, is that they don't, and they instead say, oh, well, supplements are bad. Just take a multivitamin. Oh, just do this, or oh, well,
not FDA approved.
Just take calcium. Or what?
We can have heart disease later.
You can get the calcium that you need from Tums.
I haven't heard that one, but I can see where people would say that. Because it's calcium citrate, isn't it? And the whole point of it is to not absorb so that it can sit in your stomach and reduce acid. And not absorb.
Exactly. It does not absorb. It sits in your gut and gets rid. So,
anyway.
So citrate is it, magnesium. Oh, just take a magnesium supplement.
Oh,
mag oxide, mag sulfate, mag
taurate, glycinate.
Good, right. So
because some of these make ADD worse and headaches because they're excitatory, but that's good for the tired person. Others are good for your fibromyalgia and your calming effects, and they're good for constipation.
Right.
Yes. It's amazing. Yeah, it's not just magnesium.
It's almost like it's, Kate, what's the word I'm looking for? Chemistry,
complicated, not as easy as people like to think it is.
Right, exactly. So
unique, personalized, individualized.
And guess what? What's the other one? Really freaking important, because guess what? If you've been doing all of these things incorrectly for a long time, you might have a whole lot to either correct and or get back on track to actually get to where you need to be for your baseline levels. Like, vitamin D is useless without vitamin K.
Oh, yes. And D, K, calcium, magnesium, boron, like I clump that all in a bone matrix.
These things all go together. So Kate, let's talk about So
let's hit that FDA question, because that is one I get a ton. I have had people I recommend multivitamins to, probiotics, you know, different things. And while I definitely applaud their going to their doctor and just communicating everything that's going on, the number one barrier we hit is this doctor who is given this blanket authority says that's not FDA approved, and our shared client patient will go, nope, not going to do it. And that frustrates the hell out of me.
Right.
Because that is my domain, not the doctor's. But as we talked about the other week, I also respect that the doctors are aware that there are precautions that need to be in place.
Correct.
So that FDA thing.
So the FDA thing. So the Food and Drug Administration, as it exists now, does not regulate vitamins, supplements, probiotics, any of it. They just don't do it. And there's a super fascinating long form article that I can give you the link for if we want to throw that in here at the end.
Shoot it to me later.
As to why that has come about, but basically they don't do it because
the long and short of it is understaffed, underfunded, and
amongst any other reasons, right?
A flood of people trying to get on the market, and
so very just so much. Cool. But the flip side of that coin is, let's face it, there's tons PubMed, tons of clinical trials that stand up, that are, you know, double-blinded, randomized, controlled, meet the gold standard of what would be a large-scale clinical trial for a drug, and in some cases better than some of the clinical trials that they have for drugs, which that's a whole other we won't go there. But there's tons and tons and tons of publications that do actually support these things. And that's one of the challenges.
When you get the controversy, because that's the other thing I talk to people about, because they're like, well, what about these headlines that say it's not working, or it's this, or it causes that? I go, okay, let's again go back to that quality.
Exactly.
What brand are they looking at? What form of calcium are they looking at? What form are they looking at? What's the chemical compound? And a lot of times it is
exactly. Is
these over the counter things?
Right. It's the over the counters. It's calcium citrate versus calcium carbonate versus calcium phosphate versus, you know, and Kate, I'm gonna, you've hit on a very good point. So the headlines about anything health related are typically so hand-picked. Like, and I can say this because and you know, maybe we can actually invite her on at some point as another guest speaker. My cousin is a health writer for Reuters.
Oh, wow. Okay, that would be fascinating. Yes.
She's like a in-depth researcher, health writer. But even she will tell you that a lot of the shit that makes the news, a lot of the stuff that's like, oh, and you know, on your morning news, whatever, Good Morning America, learn about how chocolate might be.
I remember the headline, wine is better for you than going to the gym.
Oh, there you go. There's another, there's a, oh my God. So talk about handpicking it. About handpicking it. So here's, I can explain that one. So specifically within red wine, there is a chemical called resveratrol. Resveratrol is very, very good for the heart.
Coming from the skin of the red grapes.
Yes, it comes from the skin of red grapes.
Mhm.
However, let's just talk about this. Do you really want to have to drink enough red wine to get enough of and I can actually tell you this because I've worked with one of the physicians that he was like, the amount you would have to drink 4 to 5 glasses of red wine a day.
Woo!
Right? To get the amount of resveratrol that would be effective in any cardioprotective effect.
Right.
So you're going to drink a fucking whole bottle of wine?
Hell yeah.
Which is, but you're going to drink a whole bottle of wine. So now you're adding however many calories. You're adding
the slowdown of the GI.
Slowdown of the GI. You're damaging
for the fat.
Damaging of your liver. I mean, like, there's 500 million other things.
Right.
So yeah, like they handpick one tiny fact and turn it into this like flashy headline that they can use.
Because it's about clickbait, unfortunately. And that was
exactly.
Yeah, kind of my
how do I keep you watching for 15 more minutes?
Right. So the 2 points I have with that, and then we should kind of keep moving on to supplements. But yeah, one is that that reductionist thing, like you are looking at one aspect of red wine versus exercise. And this again, kind of the idea of this being, it can be across the board, like calcium supplement is good as that, or blah, blah, blah. But you are just looking at that one factor and you are negating all the other benefits to exercise. And it's like, these don't really compare. We're looking at one little nuanced, and yeah, the research gets mixed up because I actually, for a while I was doing journalism and writing classes, and they teach in different outlets that I was looking at and sources. They specifically are like, okay, you need to get attention when you write your query letter to to publishers. So you need to take whatever is going on and flip it on its head. So if everyone is talking about peanut allergies and peanuts and how to substitute, let's flip it on its head. Let's say, why are peanuts like the best thing in the world? And so writers are trained because they need to get attention, to get funding.
How do you
to make things sexy and controversial and eye-catching? So that is a good point with media, to be careful with it, to understand that these writers often are not aware of how the research works, aware of the different things that go on. They don't know how to read a study. It is very complicated to understand the details, and they usually don't read the study. So yeah, so that's one of those things I always point out when they're like, well, but my doctor says there's research that says vitamins are useless. I'm like, well, first of all, let me see the research. But most likely it comes down to that quality. It comes down to the quality. And it also comes down to really what research is your physician reading? And I having worked in the medical field, I got to tell you, it is hard for physicians to keep up on anything. I mean, outside of whatever their particular specialty is or whatever they need. And even then, small niche of nutrition and functional health for GI, IBS, and inflammation, and even that is like exploding with
exactly. I mean, like,
so you do the best you can.
I mean, considering that Kate, half the time I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to send Kate this 56th article on like gut microbiome related to this particular drug or what. I mean, like, but that's the thing. I mean, even physicians staying up on their CEUs and getting their JAMA and getting their AMA and whatever else, you get the big stuff, but you don't necessarily get the minutia. And supplements are a complicated thing that physicians aren't trained on.
It's not their focus.
It's not their world. It's not, I mean, traditional conventional medicine does not deal with nutrition, really, period. Other than eat good food.
And with that, what I would like to do, let me see if I can pull this up. Okay. So yeah, so kind of the idea that doctors are wonderful. Doctors know a lot of stuff, but this is not their wheelhouse. Research is confusing. FDA does not approve of it. And so I want to kind of get
Well, and
into
it's not that they don't approve of it.
Well,
they don't
regulate
deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't, okay, we have to be very specific.
Yes, you are
It's not that they don't approve of it. They literally don't deal with it.
Right.
Period.
Right. Yes. So yeah, it's not that they're disapproving of it. It is just that it is not their role.
They don't do it. They are the Food and Drug Administration.
And supplements are not drugs.
Right. And I think the other thing too is that, and when we talk about supplements, people get freaky, right? Because there's so much that fits in the world of supplements, including, and let's be honest, basic vitamins, basic nutrients. And we're not talking in the world of supplements in terms of like creatine and protein powders and I mean, that's not the topic
we can get into
today.
that another time. Yes.
That's a different time. Today is basic nutrition, like basic vitamin A, vitamin B,
multis. Yeah.
Multis. We're talking vitamins, supplements, not the crazy world of everything else supplements, which is a different topic.
And so when it comes to that quality, I wanted to share why, because people are like, it's so expensive. And so one, like, you have to invest in your health. I apologize. Like, it is more expensive to buy organic. It is more expensive, but it matters. It makes a difference. So I have this slide. Let me see if I can share this. That just shows, this was an example in 2017 of the different costs. Are you able to see that?
Yep.
Cool. Good. So yeah, the idea that it costs between $400 to $600 to test a single nutrient, like just your vitamin A, just your magnesium. And so when you've got a multivitamin that's got 20 or more ingredients in it, and you're paying for each of these items to make sure that the quantity and the quality is safe and good and efficacious and like absorbable, it can be $12,000 per batch. And then they've got to keep it in these special warehouses to make sure they're not violating anything. So the one thing the FDA does cover is the glue on the label. And that has to meet FDA approval. So there's all these different little things that have to be checked. And that's where a lot of these costs come in, because they are paying for higher quality materials. They are paying for third-party testing to make sure it is that what is on the label is what is in the product. Yeah.
Plastic of the bottle.
And it's just, there's so many extra costs that kind of come out from that. So that's all I wanted to kind of quickly share there. But yeah, you get what you pay for, because they have to do more quality control. They have to do fresher batches of things.
Yep.
They have to pay for third-party certification and testing, and that will drive the price up, but that makes it safe and actually effective, because it doesn't matter what you're taking if you don't absorb it.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's absorption is absolutely key. And that's here again where those specific chemical compounds. So which are you getting? Are you getting calcium citrate? Are you getting calcium carbonate? Are you getting calcium phosphate? Each one of those has a different price point to it. Are you getting, for example, lucky me, I have a genetic mutation, shock. That means I can't take folate. Like every pregnant woman in the entire world takes folate, right? It's big, important thing. I can't convert regular folate. I have to take a bioavailable form of folate because I lack the enzyme that can actually take folate and make it useful in my body. So lucky me, my folate, which I still have to take because it also affects.
Because I think it's starting to come out, MTHFR, right?
MTHFR, yes. My genetic mutation is MTHFR. I also have the worst version in that I'm C677 is the worst, and I am homozygous, which means I have a copy from both parents. So I get the worst of the worst. So I have to take, in addition to make my antidepressant effective, I have to take a specific 15 milligram bioavailable supplement. It's $75 a month. But guess what?
It's the one that works.
I switched over to taking it, and it was like, oh, this actually works. Like, it makes a difference. It really does. So it's like buying paint. You can buy the cheap paint. It's going to cost you, and you're going to need to put on like 6 coats. So you're going to need to buy 7 gallons, and it's only it's only $20 a gallon, but you got to buy 7 gallons of it, and you got to do however many coats and whatever else, or you buy the 50 gallon that comes with the guarantee, the $50 gallon that says, hey, guess what? If this doesn't work in 1 coat, we'll give you another gallon for free. And I got to tell you, my husband painted our entire living room dark blue in 1 coat. I thought it was, I totally didn't believe it was going to work. I was like, you only got 1 gallon? You're insane. And he's like, he said 1 gallon.
Said one will do it.
One will do it. It'll be dark enough. And if I need another gallon, they'll give it to me for free. We still have a quarter gallon left.
Yeah. And that's really a lot of things. I mean, like the rainbow vacuum we were talking about.
Oh yeah. Same thing.
It's expensive, but it lasts and it's good and it works. And I mean, I feel like clothes are the same way. They're going to fall apart real fast. If you're getting the cheap clothes, you get the good stuff, it lasts. So you've got to find that balance. But when it comes to your health and your supplements,
it's
recommend
the same.
Put the good stuff in your body as much as you can.
Yeah, it's really putting quality supplements into your body when you're taking, especially considering that for the most part, even if you're eating well, even if you're eating organic, even if you're eating a well-balanced diet, most of us still do not get enough of certain nutrients, which is why a well-balanced multivitamin is an important part of a balanced diet. I mean, that's why we give all of our kids multivitamins, right? Like, every pediatrician in the world's like, oh, is your kid on a multivitamin?
They should be, but maybe not that gummy.
They should be, but maybe not that gummy. Not that gummy. Maybe something else, but
maybe a different gummy.
Maybe a different gummy. But it's because we don't necessarily get enough of those nutrients in our foods. We can't.
Yeah. So do you want to get into some of the 15 reasons I have where food first can only go so far?
Yes.
So one of the ones is just the way our culture is now, there is a massive depletion of nutrients due to over farming, over cooking, and over processing. That all destroys it. Our soil is depleted because we don't crack the rotate real well.
Correct.
2, time erodes nutrients. Like just once you pick it, it starts to die. And what I had originally learned was that it takes 7 to 10 days to get from the farm to the grocery shelf. But what blew my mind, and I'll have to see if I can find the link, but I found a research journalist who was going in and he found that things like onions and apples were being stored for 14 months in warehouses.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even know it could last that long once it was picked. So they're like gassing them and things to preserve them. So I always thought 7 to 10 days, which is bad enough. But now certain foods I'm learning can be stored in warehouses and gassed to maintain for over a year. So that is a time where that nutrient, that the live enzymes are dying, the nutrients are eroding. So that blew my mind. And then it kind of, as we mentioned briefly, number 3, RDA is meant solely as the minimum amount needed for an already healthy person who's not sick or dealing with anything to stave off disease. It is not to cover optimal health or therapeutic needs.
Correct. And those recommendations were created
like 1912, was it?
I was going to say about over 100 years ago. For, let's be honest, a cohort of white men.
Yes. Young, healthy white men. And I believe, if I'm correct, they were all military. Yes, that was what it was. Yes, it was for the military back in the war. How much how many nutrients did they need to make sure they didn't get sick? The minimum amount we could do to keep them as viable soldiers.
Correct.
Yeah, so it did not adjust for the needs of exercise, excessive stress, which our lifestyle like almost forces on us, medications that deplete nutrients or block absorption, health problems, genetics, SNPs, or those mutations, or other lifestyle factors such as a history of smoking or drinking. So yeah, that RDA is like scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, totally.
Kind of
RDA is like, continue. All right, what else you got?
So number 5, stress burns through your magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin C, serotonin, and more.
So,
again, when we're stressed, we need more of these nutrients that put you above that RDA number.
Yes.
Big time. Yeah, 6, just kind of typically based on research studies, many people are deficient in various nutrients. You know, there's a whole bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even remember which ones anymore. Iron, calcium, magnesium.
Iron, calcium, D,
omega-3s usually.
Omega-3s, which, oh my God, omega-3s are so important. Omega-3s, important for brain health, important for, oh, by the way, fighting BRCA. If you can turn off your BRCA genes with omega-3s. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm reciting well-cited research studies that a friend of mine did.
Everyone should be personally getting recommendations. We are just showing the why.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many whys.
Yeah. Well, and then when with a lot of the people I work with, we're trying to lose weight. So that's another one of those, they're going to be exercising more. So that burns through nutrients, that increases their nutrient needs. But at the same time, if they're trying to lose weight, they're restricting their food intake, which means you've got fewer nutrients coming in through the diet. So that's another cause. Over 80% of the U.S. population does not consume enough fruits and vegetables.
Oh yeah, well,
that's
a dud. Nobody's eating enough fruits and veggies, which is why I'm like, nobody gets enough of this in their diet. It just doesn't happen.
You're not getting it there. Yeah, but it was over 80% in a research study. But then, kind of what we mentioned briefly about the types of nutrients. There's more to that. Even if you are, for some wonderful reason, able to consume enough of all these nutrients, that doesn't mean your body's actually absorbing them. Because remember, if you've got these inflammations or food sensitivities or damaged linings or the genetic SNPs or an overactive,
oh, by the way, depending upon what you're combining.
Yep. Your low stomach acid, poor digestive enzymes, unbalanced microbiome, damaged GI lining, gallbladder, all of that can affect your ability to properly absorb those nutrients.
And certain meds will bind with certain vitamins, so you don't want to take things at the same time necessarily. Or
thyroid medicine's a big one of those, kind of blocks iron. And then, there's certain things that I hadn't learned in school, but there are certain nutrients. A specific subset of vitamin K is the K2 or MK7 or CoQ10 are found pretty much only in organ meats. So unless you make it a regular habit to eat that cow heart or eat a lot of liver, chances are you're lacking that. And that one is so important for brains and bones and nervous system. Like, it's insane how much this MK7 is in our bodies, and we don't need it.
Not there.
Another one that we see a lot of is, because there was this big kick for like reduced sodium, lower your salt intake.
Oh my God. Iodine.
You know where I'm going. Iodine. Yes.
Iodine. Everybody stopped getting enough iodine.
We've moved away from the iodized sea salt into like Himalayan salts and Celtic sea salts and black salts, which is great.
But nobody's getting enough iodine, and everybody's becoming subacute hypothyroid.
Yes, because iodine, critical for your thyroid. So Andee, what is the number one source of iodine when it comes to food that we don't eat in American culture?
Oh, isn't it it's eel, isn't it? Or
seaweed.
Seaweed.
I know, that's the best I can do.
I was to say my other guess was going to be kelp.
Which is a type of seaweed, or sea vegetables. Yep, sea vegetables, which pretty much the only way I know of people eating that on a regular basis is sushi, but that's really like not cutting it. And that in America, that iodine deficiency was huge, and that's why we iodized
freaking salt.
But yeah, so a lot of people, you know, how many people are questioning if they have hypothyroidism?
Everybody. Okay. Oh my
Even
God.
the doctors might say you're normal, but
you're normal. I think, I swear almost every female I know who has complained about, they're like, well, I think I'm just like, I feel like I'm low thyroid, but my thyroid test's normal. I want to be like, add salt to your diet. Just go just go here. I will buy it for you. Here is some Morton's iodized with the little girl on it. She's dragging, you know, her little yellow rain outfit. Just have some iodized salt.
Here, look, 2 options coming back. Okay. So yes,
Morton's iodized
salt, or
yes,
this is my other favorite one for people who are trying to limit the salt. You just get kelp flakes.
Kelp granules. Yep.
It's a little bit salty flavored, much lower sodium than
I
the
like
salt,
those too.
but it's got per teaspoon. Where'd it go?
And I like the kelp
970% of your needs for iodine. So like you don't need much. I just sprinkle it on.
And I was gonna say I have kelp granules. I just know that most people are like, you put what on your food?
Well, I will say it does not taste fishy unless you go overboard, and you don't need to go overboard. Like literally just sprinkling it on a salad, sprinkle it on
just a little bit
veggies at night, just little bits here and there.
It's tasty. I like it. I think it's delicious.
I don't even notice a flavor to it.
I don't. Yep.
So yes, that's one of the other reasons I get into supplements. And then let's talk, since we're on seafood, omega-3s.
Yes, crucially important.
Very important. A lot of people aren't getting healthy low mercury fish 3 times a week.
Nope.
And then for my plant-based people, like there's a lot of research that like chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, they all have
but not enough
precursors, like the ALA.
Yep, they have ALA, but they don't have
convert it.
Not everybody can convert it, and there's not enough. I mean, unless you're eating that much.
Yeah, so you got to be careful with that one too. And that's like when I talk to people about like what's the best diet, and I don't say there is one, but if you're going to be plant-based, vegetarian, vegan, like that's one of those things we need to be careful of. We might want to test what your fatty composition is, because maybe you're not converting it, maybe you're not getting enough, and omega-3 in its active form is critical.
Yep.
So
absolutely. Brain health, huge for brain health.
So many things.
Yeah.
Then another one I get into is that we don't eat enough fermented foods usually.
No, we don't.
Kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha. You know, and again, these are things that if we were eating these more often, I would not recommend probiotics as often as I do. Well, but the average person isn't.
And also, if you know, if let's face it, 100 years ago, we left more food out. We left bread out, not in a plastic wrapper, so we got some more spores in it. We left, you know, we had more naturally occurring for. Not full fermentation, but there would be more spore-based biotics in our foods, just based on the fact that we weren't hyper refrigerating, hyper. I mean, like
hyper sanitizing.
Real
quick side note: I'm worried about MRSA 2.0 that comes out after all this hand sanitizer this year.
Oh my God, yeah, that's
another topic.
Yeah, that's another topic for another day. But because here again, we ate stuff that had naturally existing more bacteria because we weren't a society that was so obsessed with keeping everything in the refrigerator, putting away leftovers as soon as they were done, yada, yada, yada. So you got more of that naturally existing, even outside of fermented foods. You got more bacteria in your gut because of the way we did things. I mean, it just was.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's another one of those. Collagen is the same kind of thing, and that's coming into more awareness now. But for the most part, you know, we're like, I eat the chicken breast and I throw everything else away. Like, I'm not even touching the rest of the bird. But those bones, the joint, the bone marrow, there's so much stuff that's good in there. If you simmer it and cook with it and bring that out, you get those bone building nutrients, you get that joint supporting collagen, you get all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
And where we have to be careful with that now is that because of the way turkeys and chickens and animals are raised, there can be some lead buildup in bones. So this is again where we get into that quality matters. Just going to the store and getting the $2 box of chicken bone broth.
Right.
I want the good stuff. It's
well, and here again,
high quality.
And this goes back to when you're buying your meats, you can make your own bone broth when you buy your higher quality meats and can keep all of that to make your own bone broth.
Yeah, so if you've got a local butcher somewhere nearby, befriend them.
Well, and even then, you can buy, you can
get it from the store, yeah.
Or, you can, you can go to Whole Foods and buy their high-end, high-quality bones. Rather than buying the high-end, high-quality meats, you can buy the high-end, high-quality bones. And then make your own high-end, high-quality bone broth.
Yeah. Or if you are, and then I do have the certain brands that I work with because it can be time consuming, so there are some good brands, but again, this is just where it gets into that quality matters point.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then the number 15 thing I had is just kind of tapping back to, we've already hit it a bit, but the medications that people are on and their nutrient depletion, their blocking, their competitive sites.
Binding sites.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So 15 reasons why I do recommend supplements for people and why I use food first as much as possible, but there are all of these situations where it just doesn't cut it in our society anymore.
And it's and the other thing is, I think the concept for me is not using supplements. The concept for me is supplementing my nutritional needs, supplementing my nutrient needs with the nutrients I need. Truly, like that, like it's a mind shift, and it's a difference in languaging, right? Too, because it's
a good point.
It's vitamins and nutrients that I need that otherwise I would not get. Otherwise, my body would not have. And I am going to go back to collagen for a hot minute because from an ortho perspective, oh my God, if you have bone issues, joint issues, muscle issues, and you are not drinking bone broth.
Oh, GI issues too.
GI issues too. GI issues too, especially yes, and gut health, leaky gut especially. But that's huge because let's talk about what we do for, like, if you've ever heard of the knee injections that people get that are like hyaluronic acid or Synvisc or Orthovisc, there's a whole series of them. Literally what they have done is they have taken chicken feet and rooster combs and the gobblers, boiled and ground them, extracted the hyaluronic acid, and now that's what they're injecting into your joint. Okay, that's cool, but wouldn't it be better if you didn't have to have some processed thing injected directly into your joint, and you could instead like get ahead of the process by drinking, bone broth that has collagen in it, and it could make your joints feel better without needing. And
there are flavored supplements too for people, like I'll also use Orgains. I don't want to get too much into specific brands, but there's like a nice chocolate protein powder that's made from collagen. So I'll have like a chocolate or vanilla, but then I do also have like the more natural flavored one. So that tastes like they add like savory things into it. So it's like you can run the gamut now with decent quality, flavorful broths and just have a cup a day, or put it in your smoothie, or make a stew out of it, or make your own. And I do recommend that when you can get the high quality bones, but if you don't have the time, you don't have a nice big cooker, you don't feel comfortable.
We do it. My husband my husband makes chicken all the time, and then we'll just buy like the bones from And we just take a pan and simmer it for like 6 hours, like after dinner and before bed. Like literally it'll just simmer between however long that is. Sometimes I'll simmer it overnight on super low, or put it in the crock pot, and then it's done. It's like the lowest level easy thing in the world. It's about the only thing that I can't screw up cooking.
I tried my hand at sourdough at the beginning of lockdown earlier this year.
Didn't even bother.
I failed at it. I know my sister's doing a great job with it, but I just made a mess, and it was
no.
Part of me wanted to try again, and another part was like, I got other projects.
Yeah, baking. Nah.
But yes, bone broth, I'll do.
Bone broth, I can do.
Chicken, I roast the chicken, pick it all clean, break the bones apart, freeze them for later.
Yep, that's another great thing. Just break the bones apart, throw them in a bag, throw them in a glass container, freeze them, wait till you have enough to do a whole batch. Yeah. So
I did that one.
So supplements, or nutritional supplementation. Nutritional supplementation is a very necessary part of our American dietary lives and lifestyle. And it's unfortunately, most of the conventional medical establishment doesn't understand it, doesn't agree with it. The Food and Drug Administration has nothing to do with it. They're like, this ain't our world. Bye-bye. Bye-bye vitamins, bye-bye nutrients. We talk about food and we talk about drugs. We don't talk about anything else.
I think sometimes they get pulled in retroactively. Like after so many people. Wasn't that what happened with ephedra?
That's what happened with it. They will get pulled in afterwards with specific things that are causing problems. Complaints.
But that's again, that's why it's important to remember, like, yes, there are worthless and potentially dangerous things out there.
Yeah.
But
typically you can find them on a store shelf.
Yes.
Or you can buy them like clickbaity.
Which is, so the brands I tend to work with, for the most part, will only sell through a health professional who's like proven with their licensure that they have it, because they don't want the clients or the consumers to
just getting whatever they want.
Yeah, and with unintentional ignorance, but going, I bought this, I bought that, and either like, oh, it didn't work, what a wasteful brand, or something went
wrong.
I
got this and I got this, and oh wait, here, Kate, perfect example. Vitamin A overdoses can also cause you to become suicidal. Not great, right? So that's a prime reason why I, knowing who I am, was able to go, Houston, we might have a bit of a problem here, versus somebody else off the street that could have gone, okay, well, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy this.
And it's just a multivitamin, so no biggie.
Right. It's just a multivitamin.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is just a performance enhancing supplement. And this is just
the number of people I would have come in when I was working at Lifetime, and they're like, all right, I need to understand my supplement plan. Like, I need a schedule. I'm confused, but I'm taking like this for my, my bones, and I'm taking this because I have headaches, and I'm taking, and it's like a polypharmacy of supplement bottles from all these random brands that I don't know. And I'm just like, and then I take this for my pre-workout, and I do this for my recovery drink. And it's like, okay, so in the pre-workout, there's all these like B vitamins and caffeines and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to scrap everything and start over with one cohesive plan.
Right, exactly. Like,
these are little things they've picked up from, well, their trainer told them to do this, and their friend suggested they do that, and they read this article in whatever magazine.
Right, and then they may have gotten a recommendation from a physician that said, oh, well, you know what, for your headaches, just take some magnesium. Which kind? Which kind of magnesium?
Well, whatever was cheap and on sale at Costco that day.
Right, exactly. And so and here again, like, getting back to it, in the end, it's all chemistry and biochemistry, and the way this stuff works and interacts in your body is important. And you and myself, but you as a trained professional who can make these recommendations and can get access to quality supplements for your clients, you have access to the supplements that have been tested for quality assurance, that are going to be not warehouse stored for so long that they're not working, that have the specific isomer of vitamin A from beta carotene and palmitate versus vitamin A as vitamin A acetate. I mean, these are very specific things. So you have access to that information, whereas I can guarantee you that my husband's Centrum bottle just says vitamin A.
Vitamin A.
You know, so the importance of being able to work with someone who can prescribe and have access to the correct nutritional supplementation, and also finding out where you're deficient. Like, if you're getting enough of something in your diet, you don't want to add more of that in a multivitamin.
And we can test for that. There is a test for that. We can look at your levels. So
Right, exactly. And also here again, if you also don't want to take something that's not going to be effective without something else. Vitamin D, doesn't matter how much you take unless you're getting vitamin K.
yeah, I know. I hear they call it like green nutrition, like the young people or the less trained, and they're like, they chase a lab. Oh, your vitamin D level's low, supplement more. Oh, it's still low, supplement more. Oh, it's still low, supplement more. It's like at some point you go, wait. Why is it low? Let's stop throwing vitamin D at it, because we don't know the long-term effects of that yet. Let's figure out the whole combination, what's going on. Yeah.
It's so important, you know.
Yeah, without seeing that big picture, it was hard to understand the importance, because it is very complex. It's like on the surface, when you talk about it, it's almost like you want to be like, it's so easy. You need nutrients. Get your nutrients, eat healthy, be healthy. But when it comes down to individualizing it, it can become so nuanced.
Right. And that's the thing. When it comes to individualizing it, it can become so nuanced. But at the same point in time, the basic building blocks are very basic, and we are not
even
taught them. and we're not even hitting those. We're not
it's all that white noise, like we talked about last week.
Exactly.
White noise that people ignore.
Exactly. And like, one was, I mean, the nowhere in the food pyramid, because it's based on the RDA and everything else.
Well, thankfully we're not on the pyramid anymore, but
we're not. Well, yes, we're not on the pyramid anymore, but we're on the plate. But you know what I'm saying. And all of that doesn't take into account the past 100 years of nutrition science.
Yeah. So.
And that's the challenge.
So the takeaway here. What would you recommend people do regarding supplementation of their nutrition?
If you can buy it over the counter,
throw it
away. Throw it away. And talk to Kate. Talk to
anyone who can say that they've had advanced training in supplements.
Yeah, or anybody who can say that they've had real advanced training in supplements. And I say real advanced training in supplements because I question whether or not the folks at your local gym who have been encouraged to push whatever the local package is necessarily understand. And I say that only because most trainers don't necessarily have the education, and I can say this because I know what certifications they have and the lack of education required to work for those certifications. Most of them don't have the education to actually know what it is that they are recommending for their local gym push package. Go for the supplements that need to be acquired through someone who has these certifications required to obtain quality nutritional supplements.
And
TLDR.
yeah. And we talked about collagen, and I feel like that's kind of one of those good, pretty safe, standard.
Yeah, collagen's easy. Collagen's safe. Buy the higher quality bone broth. Make your quality bone broth. Collagen's an easy one. What are some
One
other
of my favorite easy ones?
And the iodine, whether you go with Morton's iodized salt or you go with the granules, both of those are easy. But important ones are important, and you want to make sure that you're getting the right ones, because the incorrect ones can be more detrimental long term than they are beneficial.
For most people, obviously exceptions to every rule, but usually I feel pretty decent with a good quality multivitamin, a good omega-3, and a good probiotic.
Yeah.
Of a starting point, with some exceptions for everybody, of course.
Yeah.
So, I think that's all I have to say on supplements and supplementation for now. I mean, without getting even more into the nitty-gritty than we did, but I think as
I
an
was gonna say, without going any further,
it's kind of the topics. Quality matters.
Quality
Find
matters.
Who's got good experience with it, and find out where your personal lifestyle, genetics, and diet are possibly lacking, and ways to enhance that, because again, we want to thrive.
And the biggest question, yes, we want to thrive. And I will come back to the point of asking questions. And there's always information out there to help inform you. And there's nothing wrong with helping educate your physicians as well.
Love it. Be empowered.
The empowered patient. Oh my God, that's a whole other topic.
Yes, well, that's my ultimate, like my flagship program is Empowered Healing, because I am so passionate about, about educating people and getting them to understand and feel control for themselves.
Empowered, educated. Yes. Oh my God. Empowered health, empowered patients.
Understand why something's going on, you're going to stick to it better. And if you can feel confident in that, then when you have friends or family or even doctors kind of doubting you, you can be like, no, I know my body, and I know the science, and I understand why this is what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
So love empowerment, empowering, thriving. That's the goal.
Yep.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Andee, for talking again. And
thank you, Kate. Always my favorite Friday activity.
Oh, I love it. I look forward to it.
Me too. It's like my favorite. I'm like, yay. And my toddler did not try to crawl through the cat door this week.
All right,
Parenting in the times of COVID.
I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you very much for the chatting. And I'll talk with you next week.
Sounds good. Bye.
Thanks for listening into this episode. And as you heard, Andee and I tend to get quite excited about supplements, but I hope you get why. It is so important and so powerful when used correctly, but it's not as straightforward as people often think. Now, if you're interested in learning more about supplements and getting a personalized recommendation, let's talk. I have several high quality professional lines that I trust for multivitamins, collagen, probiotics, vitamin D, and all the basic foundation nutrients, as well as things we can do to get into therapeutic doses of things. And I also have a discount that I'm able to pass on to my clients. Or if you'd really like to optimize and personalize, we can do a blood test to see what your actual nutrient status is. Are you adequate and optimal, or are you maybe insufficient? Even if not clinically diagnosed as deficient, you might not be at that optimal range. So we can test and see what's really going on in your body. You can hop over to www.dublindietitian.com and set up that free discovery call so we can put your plan together. So take care. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.